Speaking Human.
Today on Speaking Human, we slap on a pair of spectacles to get a fleeting glimpse at the future of social sharing and envision our own creative ideas for social connected products that could be the next big thing. Look deeply into our podcast eyes because you're about to get snapped.
Speaking Human.
Welcome to Speaking Human, where we simplify the world of marketing for humans. I'm Shad Conley, and I don't need Snapchat spectacles because I've been taping a camera to my sunglasses for years. A Polaroid camera.
Oh, do you shake it? Do you shake them like they're a Polaroid camera?
Well, you gotta shake them or how else are they gonna develop?
Probably weird though when they're developing like right in front of your eyes, right?
You get used to it. You know, I'm a little cross-eyed, but it's worth it for those great pics from my perspective.
Totally worth it. And I'm Patrick Jebber, and I'm full of product ideas that will turn a profit for any venture capitalists. Seriously, call me. I've got ideas.
He's been trying for years, people.
On today's episode, we're talking the snappiest pair of sunglasses you're likely to come across this winter, Snapchat spectacles. See what I did there, Shad? I turned it into a Christmas vacation reference.
Oh, yeah. Very good. Very seasonal. Tough to say. Snapchat spectacles?
Well, you know, they like tongue twisters when they name products today.
I guess they're just technically Snap spectacles, and that's probably why, because it's too hard for people to say, and people be like, I don't want these. I can't even say what they are.
Like, well, dude, I can't say it. I'm not going to buy them.
It's a hard rule for many not to buy what they can't say, as it should be, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk, Patrick, let's talk a little bit about Snapchat. Do you use it? Do you love it? What is its position in your life?
You know, Shad, I do fall into the demographic that thinks of Snapchat as, what's the word they use? Frivolous? I don't really use it that much. I mean, I've dabbled in it, and I do see why it's successful. I see that because of where we're at in the world today of social media. But that being said, I am also a big UX guy, the interface, user friendliness. And I feel like it is somewhat more complicated than it needs to be. And that part, I think, is what inhibits people from using it. What about you?
I'm kind of the same way. I don't use it, and it's one of those things it's not as easy to explore or check out without jumping into. You just kind of have to use it to get a sense of what it is and how it works. Just where I am now, I'm not even trying to, I'm not necessarily trying to add new social networks to my life. I look into them and explore them mostly for work or use them on the professional side. But, personally, I'm like, God, do I need another one? So it's kind of kept me at bay from it. Though I will say I'm a little more intrigued by it now as I see more stuff from it and more people start using it. The really interesting thing I think about Snapchat is kind of where it exists within this social, we're like 10 years in on Facebook and Twitter now, a little more, and Snapchat kind of signals it's almost like the next generation or a generational divide in social media, right? Because we were kind of the social media generation. As Facebook and Twitter and all these things emerged, we were the ones adopting these tools before everyone else and using them. And now here you have something like Snapchat coming along that we're kind of like, yeah, and this whole, next generation behind us is jumping on. So in that way, it's kind of interesting within the social media history, how it signals the next wave, I guess, to some extent.
I agree with that. I think it is very much a divide. Our generation hears younger people talking about Snapchat and using it, and we're like, yeah, I have an account, but I don't really understand it. So it's just like, hey, can you program my VCR remote for me?
Yeah.
I feel like you start to become that older.
That's what it feels like, right? Because
Yeah.
I even remember when like Twitter came out and people, we'd laugh at people who were like, what's a tweet? I can never figure out this thing.
Yeah.
And now we are those people.
It's definitely an interesting dichotomy for sure.
What I will say, though, is, one of the things particularly that has, I think, propelled Snapchat to become as popular as it has is the photo filters. So I think that's driven its popularity a lot, which is kind of strange. Even though this is the social network based on, everything disappears pretty quickly.
Yeah. Well, it's just like Instagram, right?
Yeah.
That's, I think, what makes Instagram successful is the filters do it for you kind of thing. You know what I mean? And a lot of people need that because they don't have the skill set necessarily to create those on their own. And it's very simple to use, I think, is appealing for most people.
Yeah. The Snapchat ones are just, taken they're a little bit weirder, a little bit crazier, a little bit more interesting. But that also might point to another thing I think has aided in Snapchat's popularity is that it seems to me, like I said, I'm not an active user, I'm not an everyday user, I'm more just skirting around the outside of this thing. Maybe I'll jump in at some point here, but it seems to just focus more on fun stuff. And you do away with some of the other garbage that jams up the other social networks we're used to. That being the case, what do you think? Do you think Snapchat is a network that will be around long term?
I think social networks that pop up, they have a hard time sticking around, I feel like. Not because they weren't innovative or successful, but because they tend to get snapped up, pun intended, by companies that want to integrate their tech and ideas with their service offerings. For example, Microsoft bought Yammer, which was like a enterprise version of Twitter. They bought LinkedIn. Google bought YouTube. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that will survive that.
Yeah, a lot of them either get eaten up or just kind of fade away. The novelty wears off. You had all these things that were kind of the talk for a while. Vine, Periscope, Tumblr.
Yeah.
Even Pinterest, achieved a pretty good level, but kind of flattened out. Google Plus, you mentioned that as one of the big four. That's kind of fading. It never really has taken off. It never sold people to stick around or keep using it. There was nothing truly unique about it as a social network.
And it had Google behind it too, which is crazy because
exactly.
that's the thing. Like it had the backing, but just couldn't make it work.
Yeah.
Well, like you brought up Vine, and look at that. Twitter bought Vine and then shut that down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like you either get snapped up by the other guys or you fade out. And so that's where I have a hard time knowing whether or not this is going to be something that lasts.
I think the same way. I have no idea, if Snapchat will be around in 5 years. I'll say what you see with Spectacles and what the company behind it is trying to do, they're making their best effort to move it forward. They're doing what you have to do, which is keep evolving and adding new things and drawing people in. So there's the potential that it could become one of the bigs and, it could keep evolving and doing these different things and keeping people on board. And they're trying to make that happen. The other thing is their ad revenue is supposed to be very high because they charge like a crazy amount for some of their advertising is what I've heard in the past couple of years. So that could be another thing that fuels them forward.
We'll see. This is just a fun experiment in what's going to be around, even in a year, let alone 5 years. You said 5 years, but sometimes it's just, will that be here in a year? I don't know. Let's see what happens,
Yeah. Now, the social scene definitely, it's a short timeline, but you never know what it's going to look like 12 months from now. So in a minute, we'll talk in detail about Snap Spectacles and whether they're a good or bad idea and a good or bad marketing tool. But first, let's get a quick word from our sponsor.
Today's episode of Speaking Human is sponsored by Monsters Unlimited. When you want the scoop on where to navigate your business in the social media world, think Monsters. The team of marketing professionals at Monsters Unlimited will keep you on the cutting edge of the social media landscape and guide your brand through the treacherous waters of Snapchat-like business decisions. Visit thinkmonsters.com for more information.
So let's talk about Snap Spectacles. For those of you out there who don't know, Snap Inc., the company behind Snapchat, recently released Spectacles. Now these are just what they sound like. Glasses, sunglasses actually, that look like kind of cheap plastic sunglasses with a camera on it. And this camera can be used to take pictures and video and post it instantly to Snapchat. That's it. That's the whole basic idea behind them. Snapchat is rolling these out in an interesting way. They have a Snap Bot, which is a vending machine thing that they're touring around the country and is showing up in random places where you can buy them for $129.99. And they also have a pop-up store in New York City that's reportedly has got lines around the block with people trying to get Snap spectacles. But those are the only ways right now you can get them, other than paying exorbitant amounts on eBay. So these are the big thing of the moment coming out, especially within the social media space. You know, you have social media becoming a physical product in a way. So Patrick, thoughts on Snap spectacles? Is this a good product, a cool product? Do you want them, even though you're not on Snapchat?
Oh, yeah. I want the thing that posts to the place that I never go.
But you'll look cool. You'll look cool if you got them.
Only if I'm naked will I look cool. And then I can't really promise that I'll even look cool. I'll just look really sad. I won't look as cool as the naked models on the website, for sure.
What Patrick is talking about, listeners, is if you go to the Snap Spectacles website, all the people modeling the glasses appear to be naked. I don't know why.
Yeah, that's the idea, right? Is that, you know, you wear them, you go out into the world naked, and then you get people's reactions of why you're naked.
It's not a bad idea.
I mean, you know. So here's the thing. Is it a cool idea, a good idea? I'd say I could break it down in one word, and that's just gimmick. I feel like things like this are gimmicks, you know? I mean, it is something that at the moment in time that we're at right now, it's trendy.
Yeah, which is probably true. I'd say if I had one word for you, it would be 3 words. Ranting old man.
This is a gimmick.
I actually think it's a pretty good idea, you know, for a few reasons. I think, you know, this idea in general of taking a social network and, you know, bringing a piece of it into the offline world to make people use it more is pretty interesting to me. I think that's kind of a good idea. I also think, you know, it's a conversation piece. We're talking about it right now. There's tons of articles about it. You know, at some level, it's getting the conversation going and people are talking about Snap and Snapchat. The third reason is it appeals to the network's core demographic. You know, the people who use Snapchat, the millennials, they're going to be at least interested in this. You are not the core demographic.
I don't know why you say that.
It's a gimmick.
I feel like you're saying just mean and hurtful things to me now.
I'm just playing the other side, even though, you know, I agree with you in a lot of ways. It is a gimmick, and it is temporary, and it is a novelty. That doesn't mean it doesn't serve a good purpose at this moment in time.
No, and I agree. Like, here's the thing. When I say gimmick, it by definition might have a negative connotation, but some gimmicks can be very successful and they could be even a great transitional product to the next thing, which may be not gimmicky. You know what I mean? So while I sound like I'm ranting, I'm really just trying to pinpoint where it's at right in this moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's what I think differentiates like spectacles from like Google Glass, which is trying to create a new product category and trying to be something that'll be a part of our everyday lives as opposed to something that's, you know, kind of cool or interesting for a minute, but will probably then get tossed on a shelf.
Yeah.
That being said, you know, I think the simplicity of these is what's pretty good. I mean, they have kind of a high price tag for what they are, but not an amount people are unwilling to pay. But the fact that all they do is, you know, post stuff to Snapchat or take videos for Snapchat, I think is a good selling point. It's not overcomplicated. They come directly from the company behind Snapchat, and they just do this single thing. You know what I mean? That's easy for people to wrap their brains around.
Yeah. Yeah. They're sort of goofy looking. That's the thing about them is I think they're just so bizarre looking that they become a thing, right?
Yeah. Well, they're almost like hipster style sunglasses, you know, something that's kind of like so ugly and weird, but you're like confident, so it's cool.
Yeah.
But it's funny because they show those like models on the site and they look fine wearing them, obviously. I wonder what a real person would look like wearing these. Like, I'd like to see somebody on the street dressed regular wearing them, and you kind of be like, you kind of look like an idiot.
That's what I mean. Like, wouldn't you go, like, I could see a little kid maybe wearing them. Like a little kid. Maybe tweens, you could even get away with it.
Yeah.
But as soon as you get into, like, being remotely close to an adult and wearing these, I feel like you'd be like, huh, yeah, okay.
I guess they're just a statement piece. They're like, you know, I'm hip and I'm into tech.
Yeah, that's the one funny thing about it is it doesn't fade into the background. Like, they're not normal looking sunglasses. And that's, I'm sure, by design.
Yeah.
When you see somebody, you go, oh, those are the Snapchat spectacles. Those are the Snap spectacles, man. I gotta have those. Where'd you get them? Sorry.
That's so cool. Did you find the Snap bot?
Oh my God. Where's the Snap bot at?
do you
We're
think is by
alienating
design, though?
listeners right now. We're
I
alienating
know.
most of our.
Our millennial audience has all dropped off at this point, so now we can just go into pure old man raving, which is great.
They're like, these guys
No,
are dicks. Turn it
Ratings
off.
are already flat. Yeah, no, I do think it is I think they look like that by design, and I think that design will be embraced by the audience of who these are made for.
I think you're going to see a
So-
lot of offshoots and
Like generic versions of those or something.
Yeah. Crap spectacles.
Yeah, they're basically like my sunglasses and Polaroid idea.
Yeah.
It's a tough thing in general with sunglasses because, you know, different styles of sunglasses look so different on people. You know, there's some people who look so cool in aviators, and I try to put on like some aviators, and I look like an idiot. You know what I mean? It's just like
Yeah.
some things, they're just like too big for my face. They like cover up my entire face, but they're not one size fits all. They're supposed to be, but they're not. It's not working for my style, man.
Come on, this ain't me.
Getting back to Snap Spectacles, do you think they will be successful? Do you think this undertaking will be, you know, an A1 success for Snap and Snapchat?
I think they'll have a limited shelf life, which doesn't speak to it being successful, but I think it'll be trendy for a second.
Yeah. And it's, you know, at this moment right now, like I mentioned, it's bringing attention to the brand, which is a good thing. The other kind of side note on that is if you look at the Snap Inc., the company behind Snapchat, their website mentions the company as being a camera company and looking to reinvent the camera. So this might actually just be a jumping off point for them where they're just going to create all these crazy Snapchat integrated products. So this could be just where they're starting from in terms of becoming that company.
Yeah, that's very possible. And in that case, you know, I think it's a great strategy for sure.
So let's talk about how they rolled out the spectacles, you know, with the Snapbot and the pop-up store and the limited availability. What do you think of that? Good marketing technique?
I think it's a great strategy. I mean, it gives the impression that these things are hip and cool and not available everywhere. So it's got this limited supply. So you want one, get them now, right? Kind of thing. And at the same time, it also allows the Snap team to not commit to a large production run. If they find that the demand's not there, they're not out huge amounts of money of manufacturing these things on a large scale. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the rollout's been the best part of the product, maybe even the point of the product, you know? Kind of a reminder this is as much a marketing effort as an actual product here for the long term. You know, it seems like more of an experiment designed to build buzz. You know, it's working gangbusters. Classic rev up, building anticipation, desire, discussion, need. You know, a lot of what we talked about when we were talking about the NES Classic, just it's not there, so I want it more than ever. It's an approach that's definitely working here.
Yeah, that's probably the strategy that they've had, you know, is to treat it very much like their social channel itself, which is temporary and fleeting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's definitely a good point. So, to that extent, you know, the whole effort, even just the existence of this product, has given them value on the marketing side, I think, and the promotion side and the brand awareness side. So, even if it's a total flop or it disappears, you know, they've gotten something out of it.
It's gotten people to talk about it. And even if it is gimmicky, they're doing what I'm assuming intending to do, which is bring more eyes to their social channel.
They've gotten their investment out of it, even at this point, I would think. So let's talk for one last minute before we, you know, move on to the next section of our program here. Let's talk for a minute about wearables. You know, a couple years ago, this was the thing, the next big thing, wearable technology. It's coming. Has it come? You know, well, it's come, but has it actually conquered? You know, is this a real product category that people care about, or has it been a disappointment? What do you think?
Wearables, I think they do have a place in this world, but we're just not there yet. And I think the Snap Spectacles is just a stepping stone to get people used to it and to get there.
Which might be what people need to some extent. I think wearables at this point have been a marginal failure, mostly because, you know, you talked about novelties and gimmicks. It's so far proved to be a novelty and a gimmick. The idea of it, as you mentioned, it's just not giving people something they need or more than they can get from their smartphone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we haven't had that breakthrough product. We haven't had that iPhone, even with the Apple Watch, that kind of product that makes people say, oh, I need this. You know, this is adding something. I want to have this. There's some things out there you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. Even Google Glass, you're like, the idea is sound, but what's it really giving me at this point? So you're right. It may just be people aren't ready. Maybe technology is not quite ready. But right now, it seems like a flash in the pan that's going to kind of fade away as in a couple of years until something comes out that really takes that big leap forward.
Yeah, and then at that point, we'll all have dipped our toes into it, to some degree with some sort of wearable that when that comes out, we'll be like, ooh, that's cool. We're sort of warming up to the idea now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're getting conditioned a little bit, I guess, in this phase.
Yeah. It's like when you see the gas prices jump and then go back down and then jump a little bit more. Eventually you're like, oh, $1.99 isn't that bad. But once upon a time, you'd have been like, $1.99, I'll never pay that much money for gas.
Yeah, that's a good point. And if gas goes up 50 cents in one day, people are outraged. But if it goes up and down until it's 50 cents up after a year and a half, people don't even notice.
Yeah, conditioning.
Old man ranting, old man ranting. The show's ruined.
Damn it. With spectacles sparking and fueling our creative brain power, we came up with some other ideas for social connected products we'd like to see hit the market. Let's dive into those ideas now.
That was an audio clip from the Introducing Spectacles video, which shows a bunch of young people skating in an empty pool, each recording the event from their own perspective using Snap Spectacles. That video creates a vision of a social network jumping into the real world via a physical product. And that got us thinking, what are some other cool ways social networks could become integrated into our offline lives? So what we decided to do was use our brains, these things in our head, and come up with some social connected products we would like to see or we think could be kind of cool or could be big if they came out. So the results I think are going to be pretty interesting as we each share our top 3 social connected product ideas. Now, Patrick, how hard was it for you to come up with these ideas? Did they come easily or did it take some real thinking?
I'm going to totally wing it. No. This is going to just be right off the cuff. Right? That's how old men do it. So anyway, no, my idea is I wanted mine to be somewhat trying to fill a need that maybe doesn't exist and off the beaten path. That's the best way I could describe them.
Yeah, I tried to think, a little out there too. I also tried to think of, what are something that people who use these things would actually use, or people who use these social sites or apps actually would use or maybe use, it's all guessing, but, a lot of fun. So I'm really interested to hear what you came up with. So you want to dive right in and tell me your first idea?
Yeah, well, unlike your list, I don't know if anyone would ever use anything on my list. So
Perfect Christmas gift.
I'm just gonna set it up, okay?
All right.
So my first is I'd love to see Facebook shoes. Think about it, Shad. What's the problem with most wearables? They're intrusive, they're obvious. With Facebook shoes, you have a product that will be forgotten. And if connected with Facebook and Facebook Live, you get a new perspective on life. Just like any reality show, I think you would agree with this, Shad, it's when people forget the cameras are on that you get the down and dirty reality of things.
So these shoes would be shooting video of you like nonstop?
They could. Granted, I'm sure you'll get some of the dirt balls who will use them for bad things, right? Because they're on your feet. Just history will show you that people have videos on their feet. Probably not the best of our society. But yeah. And I also love the idea that they're called Facebook shoes, right? Because, it's your face. It's the furthest thing from your face, your feet. What do you think? Hate it? Love it? Hate it?
Well, not to jack your product, but I think you might want to call it Facebook footwear. Just got the double F there. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that.
It's interesting. Maybe you could, it could do different things depending on how you tap your foot or something.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of it. You've already got sneakers now that auto tie for you or, whatever, the Nike Hyper Adapt. You've got little kids' shoes that blink when they walk. So this could be just very similar, interact with you as you do things. you know?
It's an interesting idea that, you're right, does fill a need nobody has, but it'd be cool to see.
It would. The key to any product, especially Facebook shoes or Facebook footwear, is comfort, right? Because if they're not comfortable, nobody's going to wear them. And that would be the real testament of whether or not people would use them. If they're comfortable, people will wear them.
Yeah, and maybe they could partner with like Nike or Dockers or somebody who makes shoes and, get a good, comfortable shoe with the needed technology built in. That would definitely be a product I wouldn't go into mass production on right away.
That's why I say it would ultimately fail, but I think it would be super cool to see.
Fascinating failure. Maybe the marketing is, if you like looking up, you'll love Facebook shoes.
If you love looking up, you'll love looking down at these shoes.
That's fairly amazing.
Hey, like any good product, the best ones plummet to their death,
Yeah, you've
That's
sold
not
me
true.
on it. I'm in. Where can I get my first pair? Most of my list are fairly, I feel like they could be created. My first one is actually a tie between two problematic products that didn't quite make it out of development. Maybe you can figure out how I can make them work. One is the simplest thing I came up with, my simplest idea, and one is my most complex. So I'm already cheating with the tie here. So my first one is Vine Christmas lights. The big problem here, obviously, Vine's
dead.
going out of business. Somebody
Anyway,
would
go
have to get Vine going again.
That's the least of your worries, actually.
Well, this is just basically a string of Christmas lights, with just little screens for each one that display different looping vines. They'd be a little bigger than actual Christmas lights, so you could see what they were displaying. But we're in the holiday season. They could come preloaded with Christmas vines, or you could, customize them however you wanted with different vines. But, just add something a little different. Use them on your tree, hang them up around a room. Be an interesting, piece to take a look at. And displaying vines in a new and kind of interesting way that I think some users would be into.
Yeah, I think users would be into that. What's left of them.
Well, again, the inherent problem is creating a product around a dead social network. Not always the best choice.
But it's fun. I like it. I like where you're going with it. And what was the other one?
So my other one is my more complex one. This was an ambitious idea that I couldn't quite get to work in my mind. And this is the Instagram Eye. One thing I've said repeatedly in moments in life, especially with like kids around and crazy stuff happening, or you just see something randomly, is I wish I could just blink my eye and have a picture of that moment. The Instagram Eye is designed to accomplish that, right? And it could just shoot those images then to Instagram right from your eye. Now, this could be one of two things I was thinking. This could be like a contact lens you put in your eye, blink or a sustained blink or something to take a picture. Or it could be like a googly eye or something you pin on your shirt or put on a necklace. The problems I kept running into, there were just a lot of holes with this, like picture quality. What's the picture look like you're taking, Or if you're blinking to take a picture and it's a contact lens, how are you actually taking the picture?
Because your
or how
eye
does
is
it
closed
not-
at the moment when you're blinking?
Yeah, exactly. Or how does it not accidentally shoot photos all the time?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of just things I couldn't quite figure out there on how to make that work.
That one has some inherent issues too. I do think that's a more stable idea. The eye, I think, has some value. Obviously, it's very similar to the Snap Spectacles in that if it's a wearable product. Now, a contact lens obviously is kind of the future. I think that's ultimately where Google will go with their Google Glass. I think they're going to
Yeah.
have contact lenses that interact with you and show you the internet on your eyeballs. The Instagram one is cool, though. I like the idea of taking a picture without having to do anything. That ultimately is where I think the world could go.
That's
Not
where
having
we
to
want
snap.
it to go. You don't necessarily want to wear this crap.
And that's what I like about the contact lens version of that idea is that it falls into the background. It becomes forgotten almost. You're wearing them. It's maybe constantly video recording. Maybe it's constantly taking pictures, and then you long blink, for example, and that long blink becomes the thing that it documents.
You're helping me along a little bit. It needs some, technological caressing.
It does. So
Thank
out
you.
of those two, which one do you like better?
I like the idea of the Instagram Eye better, but I feel like there's just too many barricades in my way. I feel like if Vine existed, the Vine Christmas lights could be made tomorrow.
That's not the barricade standing in your way. The Vine doesn't exist here. I love it. Oh, that's good.
If this social network was a thing, then this product, would be a lot easier. So
Don't let that
that
stand
would
in your
probably
way.
be my preference. But, what can you do? Bring Vine back.
Yeah, resurrect it. So the next on my list, Shad, this one has a little bit more potential than the Facebook shoes, maybe. And I call it my Twitter drone. Look like real birds. This is definitely one that could be a real product. Wouldn't it be cool if you could buy a bird drone that flies around and uploads videos to your Twitter account? I mean, it's a bird tweeting to your Twitter account. Okay, anyway. Maybe there could be a proximity beacon so the bird would follow you around like your own pet and you didn't have to physically control it. That's why I say it could use beacon so it would actually follow you around and basically just hover, kind of like your Instagram cam. Ooh, the eye.
That's good. So yours is the Instagram eye in the sky.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, combo. Actually, I was thinking, as you were talking, I'm like, why is this Twitter? Right? Why is this exclusive to Twitter? Why is this not Instagram or YouTube or something else? But then I thought of this idea. What about this? So it's the Twitter bird. It follows, it's the drone. It follows you around. And what if it just automatically, intelligently tweets regularly? You can set the frequency about what you're doing. So it's like just automatically tweeting for you. You just turn this thing on and it is creating a Twitter presence for you. It'll be like, take a picture of you, and it'll be like, enjoying an afternoon coffee, something like that. So it's automatically managing your social life.
I like that. Well, that
would be amazing.
Yeah, it's just doing things for you. Again, that's the next step, right? An evolution of social media is like, not everybody wants to constantly be on it. That's really the hardship of social media, especially in business, right? Is like
keeping up with it, yeah.
Yeah, keeping up with it.
And the tagline, just set it up and your social presence will soar.
I like that.
That's a good one. It's a good one. It's really come along. See, this is what's good about this. We get in the room here and we start turning these, rough ideas into billion-dollar ideas.
Something that you can't duplicate and probably shouldn't.
Well, watch. Publish this podcast and then these products will be out in a week. Everybody will be wearing Facebook shoes.
Twitter drones, Instagram
Twitter
eyes.
drones will fill the sky. What are all these birds?
Horrific, Twitter drones are flying into jet engines and all kinds of stuff. And then, they're not birds. They're Twitter drones. So what else you got?
My next one is called the LinkedIn chain. This one, another one, pretty simple. Could be produced tomorrow. Just serves a specific function that LinkedIn users may or may not find valuable. So basically what this is, it's just a small chain link that you can wear or connect to a purse or briefcase. Say you wear it to business events or conferences, and it'll light up or glow when you're around another LinkedIn user. It just does a simple thing. If you want to connect with another person on LinkedIn, all you do is connect your two chains for a minute. Boom. Instantaneous connection. The LinkedIn chain.
I love that idea. That's probably the best idea I've ever heard. And it sounds like I'm being sarcastic, facetious.
A little bit.
But maybe a little patronizing, but I'm not. I love that idea. I love that. I think that is an amazing idea that we ourselves should patent right now.
It's simple, it's real, and it seems like it could be reproduced relatively cheaply. I don't know anything about producing technology products.
That's a great idea. I love that thing. The
And maybe it
LinkedIn
could
chain.
double as a keychain.
I mean, really, you could make it be anything at that point. It could be a keychain, it could be a pin, maybe something that dangles off a lanyard, like when you're at conventions and stuff like that.
Yeah, you love it. Let me know how much you want to invest. We'll get this thing rolling. Warning, if you're listening, Microsoft people, this is our idea. You better backdate your patent.
Now, Shad, while that is probably by far going to be the best one on our list, that's practical, logistically possible. My next one, I'm dead serious about, okay?
Serious.
I'm dead serious. I want to see holograms, Shad. I want to see real ones, the kind that allows me to set a small device out on my desk, and suddenly my friends are there, my colleagues, whoever, in all their 3D glory looking back at me.
When R2-D2 played that video of Princess Leia?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it would start off that way, not super realistic. What I think would be cool about this product is, this is my idea. You could choose to use a live version of you where it captures your image and projects you in real time, or if you are having one of those days where you don't look your best, we all have those where we don't want to FaceTime somebody because we're in our pajamas or something. You could choose to use an image of you from the past that you've saved into the system. The device could then render your previous image and use your real-time voice to give the impression that you're there in the room with the other person, but you're not actually yourself at that moment. Yeah, that's what I think would be cool, right? Because that's what inhibits some people from using FaceTime and stuff, right? Is the idea of, well, I don't really want them to see me right now the way I look right now, right? But if the best version of you, wouldn't that be sweet?
That would be sweet. That's a good feature. So you have, not only have you created a new product, you've created an entirely new social network.
Yeah.
Am I correct there?
I guess so. I think it could integrate with a social network. If a social network had enough money, they probably could integrate.
Like you could do a hologram chat on Facebook or something?
Yeah. But the product and the social network could go in hand, and it could be its own individual.
It's good. It's definitely good. And who wouldn't, that's one of those things, who wouldn't want that ability? To actually be physically present without being physically present.
Yeah, like think of big boardrooms or even small meetings where you want to be a little bit more intimate with that client or customer or whoever, but you can't physically be there for that meeting. Now you've got a way.
Plus you could do funny things like, reach your hand towards someone's head and be like, I'm grabbing your brain. I'm grabbing your brain.
Let's have a brainstorm. And then you have like rain coming down.
Ah, that'd be cool. That's when you get to like, somebody takes this and Snapchatizes it. So it's like filters, like you can shoot things out of your eyes, or change the weather around you.
I don't know. I just think it has a lot of potential. And it's the next evolution, right? People, eventually, we're going to get away from everything's going to be in your screen. I think it's going to take some time for people to wrap their brains around that. I think VR is doing that now. But you're still looking at a screen versus having something there physically present, even if it's not real.
Especially where you get the feel that you're actually together.
Yeah.
So it's a good idea. It would be a revolutionary, I think it could be its own social network. Hologrammer.
You've got Instagram. You could have hologram.
Yeah. So that'd be pretty cool.
So what's the last thing you got on your list?
My practical nature, I'm going to bring us way back down to earth. Another product we can have shipped to your house tomorrow. So simple. Simple, easy. It's the Pinterest bulletin board, right? Pinterest users, you pin all these things. So what we have here is it's just a digital bulletin board with, say, 12 different squares on it. Each one of those you can just set with a different pin. So you can keep it in your kitchen. Say you're pinning recipes. You could just show different recipes right there on the screen. So it's taking these things you're pinning online and often forgetting about and giving them a physical presence within your everyday world. Right?
I like that. I like that a lot. You could tap on one of the squares, for instance, and then it blows up the entire pin recipe, for example.
So it can look like whatever you want. You could even, if you wanted to put up photos and messages like you would on a normal bulletin board, it could have those abilities too.
It has a singular focused use, but then you could have, some features on there that allow people to customize it for their home. Yeah,
so
like
simple,
that.
It kind of follows the spectacles thing of just doing what the network and reflecting it out at its most basic, but then with the ability to make it into whatever you want as time goes on.
Like it, Shad. And we could ship it out tomorrow.
Yeah. Perfect Christmas gift. So that's it. That's my last idea. Did you have any other ideas or any crazy thoughts that crossed your mind that weren't included there?
Like I said at the beginning, I'm full of them. Any venture capitalists out there, seriously, call me.
Or you can fax him.
Shad, on that note, let's jump into our top takeaways. Here's what I would take away for anyone interested in technology that is networked with the internet, or the Internet of Things, as it's become known as. Right, Chad?
I hate that term.
Can't get away from it. These products are becoming more and more prevalent. In 10 years, I think people will be using some version of spectacles to interact with the world and relay the information back to their social stream. It's not a matter of if, but when it happens. Our devices are interacting with our daily lives today in a way that most people didn't even anticipate 10 years ago. Just look at Facebook privacy and how big of a deal it was just a couple of years ago. And people still contest it today, but the idea of interconnectivity and the definition of privacy has shifted considerably from where it was, and so it shall shift even more so in the future. And I say all of this to prepare our human listeners for one simple truth. Technology and our relationship with it is a testament to our ever-evolving social structure as humans. And that's the truth that businesses should embrace: evolution. We've said it before and we'll say it again. Evolution and adaptation is crucial to success. Like I said in the beginning, in 10 years, there will be some version of spectacles that people are using. It definitely won't be from Snap, but another company will improve, adapt, evolve the idea into something better, something usable, something people won't be able to live without. Don't believe me? When was the last time you left your house without your smartphone? Did you panic? Did you go back for it? I've made my point.
You got me on the last part. And slamming of Snap, saying they're dead. Their company's going nowhere.
Well, the reality is most social channels won't be around in 10 years. The ones that we know today. I mean, Facebook may, but it might be something completely different at that point.
Yeah, they all may, and they just might be eclipsed by, a totally different set of networks or something that's holograms or beyond what this first level was.
Maybe we're too far in the future, but I think 10 years is a safe number to say that things will be drastically different at that point.
Well, we'll talk about it on our 2026 episode of the podcast.
Yes, I love that idea.
December 2026. Mark your calendars.
A look back, 10 years of social engineering.
So my final takeaway is this. Think integration. Look beyond your business model to how your customers use your products or services. Use that as a springboard to think of ways you can further integrate your product or service and your brand into the lives of your customers. How can you go deeper? If you're Snapchat and your customers are millennials snapping photos of their lives and posting them on your social network, why not create a tailored product that makes it easier for them to do that? If you're Amazon and you see customers are frequently reordering certain items from your site like Tide and Charmin, why not create buttons that make it easier for them to do just that? Whether you sell office supplies, provide pet sitting services, or equip businesses with communication technology, brainstorm unique ways you could make your customers' lives better, easier, or just more fun. Don't be afraid to go too far out there. In fact, the farther you go out there, the better. Think sci-fi. The crazier the idea, the more valuable it may be. And while you may not be able to create a teleportation machine to get your customers what they need faster, in the process of thinking about that idea, you may come up with a practical way to accomplish the same goal. And when you send that marketing email to customers stating, "We've just invented teleportation," you just might change the game entirely. Think integration.
Let me just say, you had me at teleportation. Anyway, I've said it on many episodes, actually, of this podcast. But great takeaway.
And teleportation, one of the saddest things we probably won't see in our lifetime. Hopefully we see some sort of high-speed travel or something like that. I don't think we'll quite see teleportation, but I believe it will one day happen.
I really hope we see it in our lifetime.
I don't know. It seems far off right now. I don't know how people are developing anything close to that, other than Jeff Goldblum and the work he's done as Brundlefly.
Well, let me just say this, though. It may seem far off for us, but they'll be able to transport me to the funeral home as I'm dying. They'll be like, "We just got it nailed down."
There'll be a glitch, and you'll be there like 2 minutes early, and you're like, "Wait, why am I here?"
Ah, that was a sad visualization you just gave me. But maybe that'll be cool, because I'll be like, "Oh, I got to see it."
That's one of those things, if it could actually happen, God, you go to Italy in minutes? Yeah.
Man,
I mean, we'll all
minutes.
be, crazy mutants because our atoms will be all swapped around and stuff. But small price to pay, right?
Well, that's just even taking into account that we're still human. We could be androids with our consciousness uploaded to them at that point. Maybe we're immortal at that point anyway. You never know.
That's true. And then time wouldn't even, you could travel, you'd just go into sleep mode and then you'd be there. So technically you're teleporting in a way.
Yeah. This blew my mind.
Whoa.
All right.
That's some Westworld stuff right there.
All right, Shab. Well, that's it for today's episode. You can find current and past episodes of the podcast on the new and improved speakinghuman.com. You can also subscribe to the podcast on iTunes.
Tweet us your thoughts on today's show. Let us know what you think of Snap Spectacles, or share your own creative idea for the next big thing at speaking_human on Twitter. That's at speaking_human on Twitter. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode of Speaking Human. Snap you then, humans.
Speaking Human.